I'm super duper excited to bring Chris Penn up here. So we've kind of showed you, like, we started on the human side of the spectrum, we walked our way down through the middle of human and machines working together, and now Chris is here to represent the robots. Chris is the founder of Trusted. Co-founder, sorry. He's Katie's partner. And he is another data scientist, and he is on the side of the robots. So let's definitely hear him out. Give him a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Penn.
Before we get into the topic itself, could we please give a huge hand to the B-Square team in Brooke for this amazing event? Exceeded all of our expectations. All right, so we are talking today about artificial intelligence, and I am indeed Team Robot, so we'll set that up to begin. This talk will be available at wherecanIgettheslides.com. In case you're wondering where you can get the slides, you can get them right now. In marketing, we have a bit of a problem. We are asked for three things: to make our marketing better, to make our marketing faster, to make our marketing cheaper. How are we doing at these? Let's take a look at better. How is our marketing getting better? We are facing an enormous, unfathomably large amount of data every year. This year, 2019, our civilization will generate 40 zettabytes of data. Now, if you look at your hard drive or your computer or your TiVo or whatever, you see things like gigabyte, maybe terabyte. A zettabyte is an unimaginably large number. How many people watch Netflix? Because anyone who doesn't watch Netflix, interesting. If you were to start binge watching Netflix and not stop to eat, to sleep, to do anything other than watch Netflix, and you started 55 million years ago, you would just get to 1 zettabyte today. Now we're going to create 40 of these this year. That's how much data is coming at us. As marketers, we are poorly equipped to process that much data. We simply can't do it. Only a machine can handle that much data. We cannot. We also have a data quality problem. I didn't catch it earlier. How many people are in like B2B or agency here? Okay, most of the room. How many of you have this person in your CRM? Test@test.com, right? We all have this person. They show up a lot, but they never buy anything. We have a data quality problem. Right? In our marketing, we have too much data, and we have no idea the quality of it. So our marketing not doing better. Katie pointed out earlier, 43% of marketers use data to make decisions. The other 56% are just guessing or making things up, right? Making things up is great if you're creative, if you're doing art, if you're doing music. Making things up when it comes to making decisions involving millions of dollars is a generally poor strategy. When asked, the CMOs of the top 500 companies were said, this is what we care about the most. Number one, demonstrate the impact of marketing actions and the financial outcomes. 63% of CMOs in February of 2019 said this. By the way, if you don't get the CMO survey, go to cmosurvey.org. It's a free, not even a registration required to fill out and download what's on the mind of chief marketing officers. It's important because we want to know what are our bosses going to be asking us for. They want impact. What have we done for them lately? So we're not getting better. What about faster? Are we getting faster? Is marketing getting faster? This is the Internet Minute. What happens in 1 minute on the Internet? In 2018, there were 18 million text messages, 18.1 in 2019. There were 266,000 hours of Netflix watched per minute in 2018. That went up to 694,000 hours of Netflix watched in 2019. That is a lot of Netflix and chill. Right? There were 1.1 million Tinder swipes in 2018. Thank you. There were 1.4 million Tinder swipes in 2019. In 2019, which again, we don't know left or right. But given the amount of Netflix, I'm guessing a lot of right. I can tell how old certain people are by who are. But the point is, we are faced with such a diversity of content in so many different formats, right? A Tinder swipe, an email, a video, gaming streaming, smart speakers, so many different ways to get data, and it's coming at us faster than ever before. How many people have ever done or are currently working with some kind of public relations effort, either with an agency or in-house? PR teams, okay, great. Has anyone had the joy of getting like a front page hit, like a great story about your company? No? Okay. prior PR agency. That joy is getting shorter and shorter lived every year. This year, we are on track to have 122 million news stories planet-wide. Mark called this a few years ago content shock, the ability for marketers to create more content that humans can consume. This is not content shock. We are now into content coma, right? Where there are 172 news stories a minute, right? And if you're on the front page, guess what? In 60 seconds, you're gone because there's so much news flooding in. Right? So we're not getting faster. We can't keep up with this. Are we getting cheaper? Is marketing being more effective and impactful with its budget? Most companies, the answer is no. 36.4% of CMOs said they can quantify the impact of their marketing spend. 50% said they have a good qualitative sense of the impact, which means they're guessing. And 12.9% or 13% said, F it, nope, we don't know what's going on. 2/3 of people have no idea where their money is going. Just kind of flinging it out the door and hoping that they get some return on it. Which means that we're not getting cheaper. Nothing is getting cheaper. We're spending more on brand. We're spending more on service introduction. We're spending more on product introduction. We're spending more on CRM. So we've now successfully failed at better, faster, and cheaper. Right? That is not a recipe for success. That is a recipe for dire consequences. So what are we doing? We're bringing the machines. AI promises 3 things. Right? It really is better, faster, cheaper. AI promises that we can do things much, much faster, accelerate the results we get, accelerate the analysis far beyond what a human can do. AI promises better accuracy, because we're all human, unfortunately. What if we could vastly improve the amount of work that we can do and the quality of it? And AI promises automation, the ability for us to take away tasks that frankly are meaningless and low value. Those are the 3 promises of AI. So what is this stuff? AI is the ability to get machines to mimic human intelligence. When you look at how a child develops, according to Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, this is the pattern that human minds go through as they mature. In the beginning, there's just basic input-output sensory. Hey, that stove is hot. Ow, that really hurt. I'm not going to touch it again, right? You evolve into language and then into higher cognitive function. By the way, as a parent of a teenager, I greatly appreciate the fact that they say cognitive function drops off when you hit 13. Our machines are doing the same thing. From algorithms to machine learning, to deep learning, to what will eventually become general purpose AI, or artificial general intelligence, when a machine can fully think on its own. That is anywhere from 10 to 30 years away, depending on who you ask. But it will be coming, and we'll have to have some interesting conversations as a civilization and as a human race when that happens. All AI begins and is rooted in stats and probability. It is math. AI is math, not magic. Okay? That's all the underpinnings are. Is this a picture of a hot dog? Yes or no? Is that our logo? What percentage of the probability is that this is a positive sentiment to a tweet? It's all probability. When we take statistical techniques and we put them into code, we get what's called algorithms. An algorithm is a repeatable process that you go through that gives you a guaranteed outcome. Every single one of you uses algorithms. We use it in marketing all the time. If you've A/B tested anything, you use an algorithm. If you have sent email, if you have posted on Facebook, ever, you have faced an algorithm. You use algorithms in your daily life. I would bet you a small pastry retail value, $5 or less, that you probably put the same general article of clothing on every day in the morning first, right? Some people put the top on first, some people put the bottom on first, a few weirdos put their socks on first, but you generally do the same thing. These are algorithms that we use to program our lives. Where things diverge is that up until now, everything that you've used in software has been a human wrote the software and it spits out data. Now, with artificial intelligence, with the field of machine learning, we give the machine data and it writes its own code. This is being done at scales that have never been seen before. How many of you use Facebook reluctantly? Okay. The Facebook you used this morning is not the Facebook you're using right now. Every hour, Facebook releases new software. right, is a completely different version of Facebook. It's like Facebook version 5 billion right now. Because a machine is writing its own code, a machine is testing its own code, and a machine then deploys its own code, and they refresh their software every single hour. That's how fast machines work when they have data to work with, and they can learn from it, and they can do things with it. Machine learning helps us categorize and make sense of data. Imagine you had a table full of blocks, right? There's two types of machine learning that you could be looking at to use on behalf of marketing. The first branch is called supervised learning. When we tell a machine, hey, I want you to look for a specific thing. If I show a machine a million pictures of something that's colored red, and then I show it this picture, it should correctly identify that the color red is in this picture. I was in Quebec 2 days ago, and we trained a team, a group of marketers. We gave them 40 photos of light bulbs, and then we gave it a test, and we said to the machines and the models, is this a light bulb? And the machine said, yep, that's a 90% chance that this last image you gave me is a light bulb. So that is supervised learning. Supervised learning is one of the most important tools that you'll use in marketing because it helps you understand whether you're getting a certain outcome. The most famous, probably overall cultural example of this is IBM Watson Oncology. Back in 2015, I think it was, IBM was working with the University of Tokyo, had a patient who had leukemia. And they were treating her, and she wasn't getting better, So they took this patient's genome, and then 233,000 journals of oncology, and said, Watson, figure it out. Watson sequenced her genome. Watson compared it to all 233,000 journals and came back and said, hey, you are treating the wrong kind of leukemia. You should be treating this type instead of this type. They changed her treatment, and she made a full recovery. Now, it's cool that machine learning helps save a life. What's amazing is that Watson did that in 11 minutes. That's how fast supervised learning works. Unsupervised learning is the other half of machine learning. When we have this pile of blocks, maybe we don't want to know the color red. Maybe we want to figure out, how do we categorize this? How do we understand what's in this big pile? We could classify it by colors. We could classify it by shapes. We could classify it by sizes. There's all these different ways that we can use to understand data. Now, if you were to take this pile of blocks, it wouldn't take you probably too long to do all the possible combinations. But now imagine 1 billion blocks, or 1 trillion blocks, or blocks covering this entire golf course here. Right? You would never get through it. You'd run out of lifetime. But machines can do that almost instantly. Back in the days when I was working at a PR agency, I had to get ready for a meeting, and we had 2,600 articles that we were going to a client meeting, and they said, we need to know what's being said. I don't have time to read 2,600 articles, and neither did anyone else. So we stuffed all 2,600 into an unsupervised algorithm, produced a almost readable map. We could read it on the phone with the client, saying, here's what everything has been said about you in the last week. So we were able, in just 5 minutes, to get ready for a customer meeting by using unsupervised learning to classify everything that was in all of those articles. And you can use this for social content, you can use this for journals, newspapers, anything, any kind of written word at all. The third branch, which is based on supervised and unsupervised, is what is called deep learning. Deep learning is a whole lot like pancakes. It is taking machine learning algorithms, stacking them up, and then your data is like the syrup that gets poured from layer to layer to layer, modified by each layer, until what comes out at the bottom is a machine that can think better than us, faster than us, and a whole lot cheaper than us. The most prominent example of this is IBM's new Project Debater, which was a big spectacle they had in February of 2019, this year, about a month and a half ago. They pitted their Project Debater software. It was very, very funny, by the way. They had this little box with lights on it. There's nothing in that box. It was just it was a decoration. There's no actual computer on stage. But they had this flashing light box representing Project Debater and a human debate champion. And each debater was not given any prep, and they were told 15 minutes before the event started, the topic is, should we subsidize kindergarten? The machine and the human had 15 minutes to do a little bit of Googling or whatever and put together an initial opening statement. Both contestants gave their opening statement. Both contestants then had to make rebuttals of each other's statements. And then both contestants made a closing statement, wrapping up their arguments and their rebuttals. A machine did this. And it did incredibly. It sounded good. Its arguments were reasonably sound. Underneath the hood, there were 10 different AI engines doing this sort of deep learning. But the amazing thing was that it sounded human. It sounded like the machine did a better job than I would have done, that's for sure. This is what deep learning does. It gives machines the ability to simulate humans in ways that have never happened before. So this is architecture, the hierarchy of AI. You start with stats, you create algorithms, eventually the algorithms become something machines can learn from and build with, like tools in the kitchen, and we proceed to deep learning, where you have all these machine learning techniques put together. The reason you need to know this is not because I expect any of you to become engineers, but because every single vendor in the marketing space is slapping the word AI on all of their products and services. Everybody says they have AI. And so this is a little, as the Spanish would say, excremento de toro detector for who's got the goods and who doesn't. Right? To be able to ask, okay, you say you have AI, tell me what kind. Tell me how you solve different kinds of problems. This will help. There are things AI can't do. Right now, at least for today, there are things that AI is not capable of. AI is not capable of empathy. Even though it can do sentiment analysis and tone analysis and understand emotions from a mathematical perspective, empathy is about understanding what someone's feeling and then taking action on it. Machines can't do that yet. We're getting close, but not yet. Machines cannot do judgment. They can make decisions aplenty, but they can't judge something outside the rules. You ever go to a restaurant or you go to a hotel or something like that, and somebody says, "Oh, yeah, I really like talking to you. I'll give you an extra free entree on the house or an extra free appetizer on the house," right? That is human judgment that steps outside the rules. By definition, machines cannot step outside the rules because they are the rules, and so there is no form of judgment inside of a machine. Machines cannot do general life experience, and they cannot bring domain expertise to a problem right now. They can analyze vast quantities of data within a domain, but you still need to be there to help provide that broader experience that crosses domains into what the machines are doing. And for the most part, machines cannot replace human-to-human relationships, with the exception of the fact of those companies. We're in New Jersey, which is, by the way, is where I learned to drive. New Jersey has this place that is legendary for being awful, called the Department of Motor Vehicles. Every experience I've ever had there has been so appalling, I would gladly use a machine instead of dealing with a human. Because those surly humans of the DMV just have no interest in helping, right? So if your customer experience is so awful that a machine is preferable, then that will be something that machines can replace. But for the best experiences, machines cannot replicate those yet. So let's look at some practical examples of machine learning and artificial intelligence in use in marketing today. There's 5 general problems we want to try and solve. Number one is we have a whole lot of untapped data. We're sitting on data, massive quantities of it. Some of it may or may not be good, but we have a ton of it. We have call center recordings, we have emails in our inboxes, we have our CRM, and we're not using it. For those of us who are in social media marketing, influencer analysis and influencer marketing is the most interesting thing, and certainly the most relevant thing that marketers are searching for. There's going to be 280% more interest this year in influencer marketing than in the last year. Right? It's a crazy number, but we're not real good at the analytics behind it as a profession. A lot of times we have unclear data. We have so many metrics that we know are good. How do we use them in combination? A lot of the times in marketing, we are faced with situations where someone has effectively backed the truck up and poured data all over our desk. We're like, what do we do? Right? What is this mess? We're unfocused. And because of all this, we spend all of our time in reactive panic mode, and we're unprepared for the future. So let's talk about some examples of this. With dealing with unstructured data, International Women's Day was not too long ago. On that day, there were 1.6 million social posts. One of the things that we wanted to understand was what was being said. What were things that if we wanted to make some sort of intelligent contribution to the conversation, what was already being talked about, and what should we probably not say? I can't read 1.6 million social posts. That's the equivalent of 8,960 novels written in a day by the collective human race, or the people who are contributing to this topic. But using text mining, we were able to digest those posts down and come up with a understanding of what the major issues of the day were. Gender parity, gender balance, gender equality, the gender pay gap, women studying and gaining more people to participate in STEM, science, technology, education, and mathematics, engineering and mathematics. By knowing the map of what was being said, we could craft a response that was in tune with what was being said. One of the comments earlier I heard from Lucas Sprout Social was there's a big difference between monitoring and listening. This is using machine learning to listen to the conversation and understand how you should be participating with it. Right? This analysis took about 7.5 minutes to process 1.6 million posts. Another example, we were asked recently by a recruiting company, hey, we've got all these job postings on Indeed, but our numbers are not getting better. Why are people not applying for jobs? So we scraped the entirety of all their job postings and modeled them and said, hey, these are the terms that are the most frequent and the most important in your job listings. CDL driver, your age, you have a valid class, you have all this, and all these valid things, if you drive tankers. And then they gave us 17,400 call recordings, audio files from their call center. We fed those into a transcription, AI transcription service to transcribing the text, and then modeled that. And here we see driving record, tickets, pay cents per mile, starting cents per mile, the payloads, the types, are you home on the weekends? What a disparity. What's in the job listings has nothing to do with what the candidates were saying on the phone to recruiters, right? So the recruiters and the candidates were having one set of conversations. The job postings had nothing to do with that. And people are like, so why should I apply for these jobs? Your company in your job posting is not saying anything I care about. Nothing. It's all, here's what I want you to do for me. And this is what the candidates are saying. Here's what I want in return. So those job postings were totally tone deaf. But using this type of text mining, we can find that very, very quickly and say, you need to change what you're saying in your job postings to adjust to what the candidates really care about. At least acknowledge that these are the issues they care about. When it comes to influencer analytics are difficult for marketers to get access to because to do them well requires time and software, and good software. Most companies that provide sort of a SaaS-based software, when you log in somewhere, they care about things like user experience. Your app or your software should be nice and fast, responsive. Nobody wants to say, give me an influence report, and the software says, come back after lunch, and I'll have it done for you. We expect it like that. So one of the problems we have then in influencer analytics is when we try and find influencers, we're using the cheapest, easiest, but worst quality measures. This is the Adobe Summit, which is happening right now in Las Vegas. And we're pulling in several thousand posts an hour from this event and creating this network of not just who's loud, right? Because that's easy, anybody can be loud, but who is most talked about. Because the people who are most talked about are generally the ones that when they speak, we all want to understand what they're saying and participate in it, right? People who are really influential. If you look at social media marketing world from last week, one of the top influencers was Mark Schaefer, right? People pay attention to what he has to say, and they talk about him, even though he may not have been tweeting 500,000 times an hour, like some of the people there. So influencer analytics, when we use machine learning, this is a technique called network graphing. We can analyze the conversations and then come up with a very rigorous list of here's who you should talk to. We can even analyze how automated is this person's account. Right? This person's account here, the Best Buy account, is 45% automated, just automated responses that follow a very specific pattern. Guess what? That makes them less influential. We'll discount their influencer score because who wants to talk to a robot? I do. But so that's influencer marketing. What about processing data we know is good but trying to make sense of it? How many of you are doing or have done SEO, search engine optimization? Okay, great. This is Aon. Hi, guys. This is your website. These are the terms that you rank for, right? There is a lot of stuff in here. Right? There are, I think when I looked this morning, 51,000 different terms that you rank for. Now, if you're the search engine marketing manager, what do you do with this? I don't know. Where do I even get started? But within SEO data, there's a whole bunch of things that we know are good, like how much search volume is there? How difficult is it to rank for a keyword? How many clicks does it get? When we use a technique called clustering, we can identify on Aon's website which pages are their strongest pages. Their kidnap and ransom page is the page that is the hardest for a competitor to rank for, right? So for Aon, you would want to double down on this page, improve it, make it longer, add some video, build some content, but do something to defend your positions that for the terms you already rank for, right? This is an example of clustering, putting together a few different data points to come up with this is the action I need to take first. On the flip side, if you look at the generic terms in your industry, the generic terms are things like whole life insurance, COBRA health insurance, best travel insurance, health insurance in California. These are the terms that get lots of clicks, but are relatively low difficulty, meaning that there's not as much competition for them. You can see those clusters are differently colored. This cluster in the spreadsheet is cluster number 1, which is that orangish one in the lower left-hand corner. This is an opportunity for you to take away market share from competitors because they're not paying attention. They've left the cheese unguarded. It's an opportunity for you to go in and grab some of that. You can get a copy of the slides. The manager's like, I want to get this right now. But by using clustering, instead of just having 50,000 keywords, where do I start? Here's what you defend. Here's what you attack. Right? It's very prescriptive. Our fourth category that we solve is that unfocused data. When someone just backs the truck up, what do we do? How do we handle this much data? We do things, as I mentioned earlier, driver analysis, which is essentially taking all of the data that we have available and telling the machine, supervised learning, tell me what matters most. So this was an example for social media. This customer is an automotive that wanted to know what generates website traffic. Well, for them, in this case, in this time, it was the size of their social audiences combined with the latter weeks of the year, because that's when their customers were interacting most with them. So we took an entire year's worth of data and digested it down. What matters most? We can do that with machines because machines can do the math on that. The spreadsheet to put this data together was about 10,000 columns wide. Right? That gives you a sense of how much data. So for you to manually try and figure out, does column TX match up with column U7? No, I have no idea. But a machine can do that. A machine can figure that out. Another example, we recently ran 12 million posts on Instagram through a driver analysis to say, how much do hashtags and handles matter to the growth of your Instagram audience? The answer is not a whole lot. It's not 0, but it's functionally almost 0. Do hashtags hurt? No, because otherwise the number would be negative. Right? But they don't contribute substantially to the majority of large Instagram accounts when it comes to getting their audiences to grow bigger. What matters most? Getting the audiences to engage, getting them to do something, mostly likes, on photos. That's what drives engagement, because that's the algorithm then shows your stuff to more people. Right? A third example of driver analysis. We had lunch last week with BuzzSumo at Social Media Marketing World, and they published a study of 52,000 blog posts in B2B, and they were trying to figure out what really drives high-quality content. They had looked only at social sharing and said, oh, is social sharing the thing? We were able to pull in click-through data. Like, here's the articles of all these blog posts that were actually clicked on, and by using this driver analysis, we said, yes, Facebook shares does matter. But they have a special metric internally called Evergreen Score, which is the number of social shares that a post gets after 30 days. That is a strong indicator of quality content that gets clicks. As a marketer, I like shares, but I love traffic. I want people to come to my site so that I can then show them annoying ads. This tells me these are solid predictors for understanding what content really gets people to my site. So that's driver analysis. Helps us make sense when we have too much data, when we have so much data that we have no idea what's going on, or when we have data in different systems. When we did the project with the automotive, we had to get data out of their membership system, we had to get it out of their insurance system, their travel system, we had to get their marketing automation system, their social data, their web analytics data, and some of their purchase data, and also their customer service call center data. There is no piece of software on the planet that can get all that data into one place. So you have to do it manually and then run driver analysis to figure out, of all those things, what really matters. And finally, prediction. Being able to predict and forecast forward. Again, for Aon, if you take those terms that were popular, that were really important, right? As of this week, I believe it is life insurance policy is the most important term this week. So if you're not posting about life insurance policy services on Aon social channels, there's the takeaway. Or like now. I can wait. But as we saw earlier, prediction is prescription. Prediction tells us which direction to go and when to do it in. Because so many marketers, we spend so much time scrambling that we never stop to think, what should I do? For the Aon folks, 4 weeks out, best life insurance. The terms. So start planning your content now. Whole life insurance in 3 weeks, self-employed health insurance in 2 weeks. Interestingly enough, self-employed health insurance vanishes as a search term after April 15th. I don't know your industry, I don't have the domain experience, but that was a really odd thing. Just poof, vanishes as an important term. But up until April 15th, people are searching for that like crazy.
Yeah,
It's got to be something tax related.
Yeah, they got to get covered because they have to pay the.
There you go. So those are examples of the types of problems machine learning solves. You have to start now. Remember, machine learning is all about data that machines learn from. The later you wait to start, the more your competitors accrue data if they've started, or the greater competitive advantage you have because your competitors have not started. The more data you have, the better you can train your machines. So how do we get started? It's a 7-step process. We call it the enterprise AI journey. It begins with, can you even find your data? Where is it? Is it clean? Is it usable? Does it even exist? The second step is to become a center of excellence in measurement. Do you have metrics? Do you have KPIs? Do you make decisions based on data? How many people know what a KPI is, a key performance indicator? Someone want to shout out and answer what it is? What are some KPIs you focus on? Anyone?
Oh,
yeah.
Time. Well, for us, it's tying social activity to business goals.
Social activity.
Revenue per customer.
Yep, revenue per customer. Good. Anyone else on this side?
Email signups.
Email signups. Okay, cool. Here's our definition of a KPI. It is a number with which you will either get promoted or fired. Right? If you're putting a number on a piece of paper that will not get you promoted or fired, it's not a KPI. So you need that center of excellence. Your third layer is to build your qualitative capabilities. Customer advisory boards, focus groups, surveys, being able to answer why. Because no matter how good machine learning is right now, it still can't tell you why something happened. So you need that qualitative research capability, the ability to do great market research. Yeah, and you need to do process automation, to automate the known knowns. Let's do this just out of curiosity. Raise your hand if you spend more than an hour a week curating and publishing content on social media. More than an hour a week. More than 2 hours. 3, 5 hours a week. 10 hours a week. Okay, there's still a couple of hands up. As a startup, we have 3 people, and we have the same 40 hours a week, plus the hours I'm not supposed to be working, to work. So we automated the process because we can do better things with our time. Our weekly social media posting takes 2.5 minutes because the machines are pulling the content, scoring it, analyzing it, tagging it, putting it in the correct format, and then we just post it to a posting service. Find opportunities everywhere in your company, anywhere in your own work to automate the stuff that is repetitive and relatively low value so that you can get on with the real work. After you've got process automation, you've given yourself some free time, build your data science capabilities, the ability to write code, to do engineering, to have mathematical skills. From there you build machine learning capabilities, and eventually you become an AI-first enterprise. There are very few companies that are AI-first, and you know most of them. Google, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, IBM, etc. There aren't too many out there. To the question of should we buy this or should we build it, depends on 3 things. It's time, money, and your strategy. If you have more time than money, build it. If you have more money than time, buy it. But fundamentally, there's this concept called digital transformation, which is a very overused buzzword that promises all sorts of crazy things. But one of the things that is legitimate about digital transformation is the idea that you are going to take the work that you're doing in technology, and you are going to make it valuable on its own, so much so that you could sell it. Right? So when you build a machine learning model, for example, say you're a coffee grower, and you build a machine learning model that helps you optimize the growth of coffee trees, guess what? You can pick that model up and apply it to corn, to soybeans, to silly characters in video games like Farmville. That model is something that is valuable in its own. And so if your core competency as a company is going to be using machine learning, then you absolutely positively must build it because that's going to be part of your secret sauce. If, on the other hand, you're just going to use it to make your marketing go faster, buy it from a vendor. It's so much easier. So that's the answer. Buy it if it's not a core competency, build it if it is. There are a couple of examples of consumer ones you can use. This is a piece of software called Otter. It's otter.ai. It's voice transcription. You give it an MP3 file, and it turns out transcripts. So we do this I do this every day when I blog. I record a 10-minute video on my little camera here. I pull the audio out. Guess what? Now I've also got a podcast. That MP3 then goes to Otter, and it writes the blog post for me. I can create 3 pieces of content out of 1 within 45 minutes a day, which is a huge time saver. Google Analytics has a ton of AI built into it. How many people have used this little insights button on the upper right-hand corner? Okay, I was going to say, your hand better be up. It spots anomalies. It looks at all your data and says, hey, did you notice this thing's going on? Should you do something about it? If you have not already installed the Google Analytics app on your phone for your company's website, you should absolutely install it because it will send you a notification saying, hey, pay attention, something's up with your website. It's hugely valuable. You can even ask Google Analytics questions like, what performed well last week? And it will give you mostly okay answers. If you are going to build it, the platform I recommend if you cannot code is IBM's Watson Studio. The costs go from the free trial to egregiously expensive very quickly, as most things do with IBM. But it is a drag and drop environment to learn how to start putting together artificial intelligence together, and it's fantastic. We're just starting out trying its desktop edition, and so far it's been amazing. I was running models in my hotel room last night because I have no life. If you do want to learn how to code, the two languages that you would learn would be either R or Python. Both are excellent languages to program in. But I will say, AI is a separate profession. Take it the same seriousness as pivoting into a different profession. Like, I'm done with marketing, I want to become a chef, right? You can dabble in it, but you're not going to get the same results as if you say, I'm changing professions. If you want to do this stuff, it is essentially, functionally, a change in profession or starting a second job. How do you prepare your company for artificial intelligence? You're going to need three kinds of people in order to do this well. Data is the new oil, a popular quote from 2006 from, I think it was Dan Ariely at the time, which is a great analogy because crude oil is useless. It's sticky, it smells, it stains everything it touches. You need developers to extract the data from your enterprise. This is Steve Ballmer screaming and swearing about developers. But you need developers to get at the data throughout your company because it's all over the place. It's a huge mess. You need data scientists to take that crude product and extract it. By the way, if anyone's looking for the best answer in influencer analytics, this is the answer. It's influence adoption probability. 1 in 49 algorithms to do that. But you need data scientists who can speak this language and understand this math to be able to take that raw data and turn it to something useful. And then you need marketing technologists who can take the useful insights and bring them to market, implement them in your marketing automation, your email, and your social media. You need all three roles in order to pull this off. Now, if you're a big company, you start in this order. Developers first to get at your data, data scientists to clean it, marketing technologists to deploy it. If you're a smaller company, you go in reverse order because you need marketing technologists to find easy wins that generate more revenue so that you can invest more in the other roles. So that's who you're going to need. Let's talk about you in the last few minutes. How do you prepare your career for AI? Let's talk about who's getting fired. If you were to open up your calendar on your phone and page forward to like 2 months from now and look at any given day, if you know exactly what's going to happen on that day, down to the hour, you will lose your job to AI because your job is so predictable and routine that it can be scheduled out that far. If you open your calendar and you look at Monday, you're like, I have no idea what's going to happen Monday, but I'm sure it's going to be a juggling chainsaws day. Probably going to be difficult to replace you because your work is so variable that it's difficult to predict. Right? The more predictable your work is, the easier it is to automate. So how do we prevent against this? You need to do a few things. Number one, focus on multidisciplinary skills as a human, because when you look at the top 10 most in-demand jobs on LinkedIn, machines can automate substantial numbers of tasks within each discipline, like video production. A machine can automate a lot of the pieces of that. But if you're good at video production, and you're good at sales leadership, and you're good at analytical reasoning, that is extremely hard to program. The more diverse and multidisciplinary you are, the harder you will be to replace by a machine. So instead of trying to be good at just one thing, be good at a bunch of things. Second, you need to think like a machine. Doesn't necessarily mean being able to program, but think about solving problems like a machine would. Anytime you run into a problem at work, if your thought is, I gotta fix this problem, that's not the first place to start. The first place to start is, how can I build a system or a process to solve this problem forever, right? Like social media scheduling. I don't want to do this every Monday. How do I write software to solve the problem forever? So learn to think like a machine. Third, you need to oversee the machines to be able to keep an eye on what it is they're doing. Machines are amoral. Machines have no moral compass. By definition, they can't. They have no judgment. So what we put in is what comes out. In 2016, ProPublica did this expose about a police department in Florida that tried to write an algorithm to predict recidivism, meaning the likelihood that someone would commit another crime. The algorithm was 20% correct. You would have been better off flipping coins. But there was a bias built into it. African Americans were identified as 5 times more likely to reoffend than they actually did. Someone put their thumb on the scale and said, I want it to say this. And unless we are overseeing the machines, we have to assume, we can't assume, we can't say the machine must be right, it's magic, right? No. We have to inspect it and keep our eyes on it. Last year, Amazon got into a huge amount of trouble because it built an AI to screen resumes and try and judge who the best candidates were, and it said women aren't good candidates. It would just stop recommending women, period. Why? Because someone trained it on 10 years of hiring data that was almost all guys. No one said, hey, gender balance is an important thing, so we have to oversee the machines. Facebook is another example of a completely amoral company, right? They have a goal of engagement, and their machines, their AI, has been built to optimize for engagement. What gets engagement? Making people angry and afraid all the time, right? No one said, hey, we should probably also optimize for human happiness. So we have to be the ones to oversee the machines and say, this is not okay. You have to change it to do better. We have to become outcome focused. Right? The machines are going to do the heavy lifting. I used to have this chart hanging up in my office, and this was how to use Keras, which is a layer on TensorFlow, which is a deep learning architecture. It's just really complex. And I got through the first column trying to learn how to program this thing in about a year. And I went to IBM Think, and IBM said, yeah, that whole programming thing, now just drag and drop it. I'm like, oh, shit. I've been doing this all the time. And it's true, inside of Watson Studio, you can drag and drop a deep learning system together. You have to know what the pieces do, but you don't have to make the pieces anymore, right? It's not like being a chef. You don't have to go to an iron foundry and cast your own cast iron pans. You just have to know how to cook. I went to Think this year, they said, oh, we don't even do that anymore. Now the machine builds the whole thing for you. You just drop in the data set and tell it what you want to do, and it'll do it for you, right? So we have to be outcome focused as marketers. What do we want? And then we, as the conductors of the orchestra, have the machines do the work for us. This is an example of GPT-2, OpenAI's natural language generator. Look at this. Someone types in a sentence, and then it writes for us. And it writes reasonably good content. Right? We don't have to do the heavy lifting anymore. This model was released early this year, and the full model was so dangerous they wouldn't allow it to be released publicly because it could be used to generate incredible amounts of fake news and garbage and stuff. But it is an incredibly powerful tool that will help you with your marketing. In the end, there will be 2 types of careers, right? Either you're going to manage machines or the machines are going to manage you. I used to tell a story about this poor kid who was at the supermarket who would have to walk up and down the aisle, scanning in at the end of each aisle because he was being measured on his performance. My supermarket just released Marty, the spill detection robot. That kid's job is gone, right? Now Marty stumbles around the aisles and looks for spills and only summons a human when there's actually a spill or when there's someone laying in the aisle. I know I tried. But this is the future. Either you will manage the machines and the machines will manage you. And I have news for you. You're already managed by a machine. How many of you opened this up the first thing you did this morning? Right? How many of you open this up the first thing you do at the office and get home? You're being managed by a machine already. The question is how much of the process is voluntary and a conscious choice on your part. But this is the future. Make sure you decide which one you want to be. Do you want to manage the machines? I would suggest that you probably do. Thank you very much.
Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.